Hello and welcome to Byjus Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to the Hindu analysis for today. But before we do that, just an important reminder. As you know, we are running an exclusive series of political thinkers on our Telegram channel of Byjus IAS. If you're a part of it, you would see every evening at 7 p.m. we are releasing a video on our Telegram channel about political thinkers, which are very important for political science, sociology, pub ad, ethics, and all these papers. Today's video is on Thomas Hobbes. It would have been released already. If you are still not a part of the Telegram channel of Byjus IAS, you can join it right away by using the link given in the description of the video. So do join the channel and make sure you take advantage of all the latest current affairs updates and these exclusive series on our Telegram channel. Now let's begin with the first article, that is all the way from Samarkand in Uzbekistan. As you know, the two-day SCO summit was held in Samarkand in Uzbekistan, where our Prime Minister participated along with the heads of other member nations as well, from China, Russia, Central Asian nations and Pakistan as well. Now, the newspaper is filled with the topics of discussion that took place in the SCO summit. From our point of view, what is most relevant to us is the things that were said by our Prime Minister in the SCO summit that was just held. Prime Minister Modi made a lot of important remarks. These remarks included, number one, that we need to have better regional connectivity, and for that we should give each other full transit rights. Now, what do you mean by transit rights? Transit right means, for example, if this is India, next comes Pakistan, and then comes Afghanistan. So, in order for an Indian truck to go to Afghanistan, we'll have to go through Pakistan. For that, Pakistan will first have to give us transit rights. So transit right means allowing your transport, allowing your vehicle to pass through their country, but the destination is some other country altogether. In the past, that has not happened from the side of Pakistan. As you know, India has been trying to help Afghanistan in a lot of ways by building infrastructure, by giving them food, grains, etc. Every single time we have to ask for the transit rights from Pakistan, and Pakistan either says no or delays it to such a large extent that the help becomes futile for Afghanistan. So Indian Prime Minister says that the entire region must ensure that we give full transit rights. The reason why he was saying this here is that India is trying to improve its relationship with the Central Asian nations. Now, since the Central Asian nations are landlocked nations, and the only way for India to connect to those nations is through Afghanistan. And for reaching Afghanistan, we have to go through Pakistan. So, in simple terms, even if India has to improve its connectivity to Central Asia, transit rights have to be given from Pakistan's end. And this is the reason why the Prime Minister of India was raising this issue. He also said that we need greater cooperation in the Eurasian region. Eurasian region is a Central Asian region only because of the energy and food crisis. As you know, in the past few months, especially ever since the Ukraine-Russia war has begun, there has been a large inflation seen throughout the entire world. The price of fuel, the price of food items are increasing. They are at an all-time high in a lot of commodities, and that is why there is a concern amongst various nations across the world. The Prime Minister, at least on camera, did not exchange any words with the Pakistan Prime Minister or the Chinese President. But after this media interaction was over, all the world leaders took part in a dinner organized by the Uzbekistan leader. In that dinner, there was no media that was allowed, so you don't know what happened behind closed door meeting, but at least on camera in front of the media, there was no bilateral interaction between India and Pakistan or India and China. The Prime Minister also said that our neighbors, China, Pakistan, both of these are facing climatic catastrophes. Pakistan is facing floods while China is facing drought. The Prime Minister suggested that we as a region should promote cultivation and consumption of millets, which do not require a lot of water, which are also very nutritious, and that is why that can be a way forward. As you know, Pakistan is delaying offering transit rights to India. In fact, India, after the takeover of Taliban, had offered 50,000 tons of grains to Afghanistan. They were going one by one, 10,000 tons at a time. But the last 10,000 tons could not be transferred because Pakistan has still not given the permission for the transit rights for Indian transportation. On the other hand, the Chinese President Xi Jinping congratulated India as a formality. Why? Because next year, India will be the host of the SCO summit. So after Uzbekistan, the 2023 summit will be held by India, and that is why the Chinese president went ahead and on record congratulated India for becoming the host for the next year. Then it came to the turn of Pakistan Prime Minister. He said that a more structured SCO approach is required to increase connectivity in the region. He said that the transit rights will automatically come if the connectivity improves. So rather than answering what the Indian Prime Minister was asking him, he made a very generic statement. Now, just on a side note, a suggestion: if you want to have a good laugh, go on YouTube and search for meeting between Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif and the Russian President, that is Vladimir Putin. See for 1 minute how the meeting started and see how the Pakistan Prime Minister had a very hard time in putting on his headphones. You will see that video and you can enjoy it and then come back. Anyway, the other big thing that happened was Iran became a full-time member. You might say that Iran was already a member, but that was not official. Officially now, Iran has been made a full-time member. There were news that Belarus may also be becoming a full-time member, but that has not happened, at least now. Now, just to give you an example of Pakistan refusing to give transit rights to India, this is nothing new. As I said, Pakistan has turned down India's request of ensuring that transit rights are given for the food grains to be supplied to Pakistan multiple times. Many times they refuse it. Other times Pakistan also gives certain conditions. Conditions such as Pakistan says we will only allow transit if you come till Pakistan border, then all the food grains should be transferred to Pakistani trucks and then they will be going ahead to Afghanistan. India on the other hand says that we don't trust you, we want the same Indian trucks to continue till Afghanistan. So these are also some of the excuses that Pakistan has given in the past to refuse transit rights to ensure that Indian food grains actually reach till Afghanistan. Now, since a lot of talk was about connectivity in the region, I wanted to give you an example of an agreement that has been signed in the past, especially for this purpose, for ensuring connectivity in the region. This is called the Ashgabat Agreement. India is a part of the Ashgabat Agreement since 2018. Now, the idea of this agreement is to establish an international multimodal transport to connect Central Asia with the Persian Gulf. It was in 2011 that the agreement was first signed by Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, Oman, and Qatar. While Qatar withdrew from it, Kazakhstan and Pakistan joined, and then India also joined this agreement in 2018. As you would know, Ashgabat is a name of the capital of Turkmenistan. So Turkmenistan also is a member of it. The objective, as I said, is to ensure connectivity between the Eurasian region and ensure that connectivity is enhanced till countries such as India as well, using multiple modes of transportation, road, rail, and sea as well. This is a kind of a rough map that you actually can expect connectivity to be ensured till India using different modes of transportation, sea lines, railways, roads, etc. This is still a work in progress, although I should say a work in very slow progress actually. The next article that we have is from Sri Lanka, where the Sri Lankan President, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, has said that Sri Lanka is all set to revive and upgrade the free trade agreement that has been in force with India since the year 2000. Now, Sri Lanka-India Free Trade Agreement is one of the earliest free trade agreements signed from India as well and from the side of Sri Lanka as well. However, since the signing of this agreement in the year 2000, both the sides have been trying to upgrade that, but no negotiations have actually been able to do that. Mr. Wickremesinghe, who was earlier the Prime Minister in 2015 and 2019, did attempt to sign the upgraded contract version, but it was not successful. In his statement, he also said that Sri Lanka wants India to participate in Sri Lanka's energy sector. He said that the long-term energy solution for Sri Lanka could be a grid connection between India and Sri Lanka. He said that Sri Lanka has a lot of potential of developing renewable energy as well, such as wind energy, solar, and other renewable projects where India is invited to be a part. And the fact is that India has actually been a part of multiple renewable energy projects in Sri Lanka as well. Let me give you a few examples. See this news of March 2022, where India and Sri Lanka signed this agreement to build a solar power plant in Sri Lanka. Same, the agreement was signed to take up hybrid power plants in northern part of Jaffna. Earlier, the same project was actually being handed over to China, but it is considered as a major achievement of Indian diplomacy that we were able to ensure that the project comes in the hands of India and is taken off from the hands of China. Now, it is not just India or Sri Lanka. The entire world is realizing the growth that India is making very, very quickly in the field of renewable energy. This is an article from the website of the World Economic Forum, article of July 2022, where they have also noted that India has been investing a huge amount of money in renewable energy, especially. Amongst the renewable energy, also, it is solar actually where India has made the most progress as compared to other countries around the world. The same report of the World Economic Forum says that the investment in renewable energy in India has increased many folds. If you don't consider the pandemic year and see the year after that, the government has been focusing a lot on renewable energy, realizing the fact that India's ambitions of becoming a clean and green economy goes through solar only. Also, these are the details of the free trade agreement that India and Sri Lanka have signed, and it has been in existence since the year 2000. Now, as you know, no free trade agreement says that everything coming from the other country will be free of taxes. There is always something called the negative list. Negative list means those items which will be apart from the free trade agreement, those items on which the taxes will still apply. Usually, the Indian governments have been criticized over the years that whenever India signs a free trade agreement, India keeps a big negative list. That is, India tries to keep a lot of items apart from the free trade agreement as well, and that is why many of India's free trade agreements have not been very, very successful. Then there are zero duty items which will not have any taxes. Then there is a list of those items which will have half of the taxes as compared to the normal. This is how India Sri Lanka agreement has been signed. The upgraded version would mean that the negative list should be reduced, it should come down as much as possible, and most of the items should be in the zero duty list. That is how the free trade agreement would make sense for both the nations. The next article that we have here is about a concern of declining fertility rate seen across the world. The article mainly is based on the World Population Prospects 2022 report by the UN Population Estimates and Projections. The report has been prepared by the Population Division of Department of Economic and Social Affairs of United Nations Secretariat. Now, these are a lot of details to remember. There are a lot of numbers in this report, but rather than focusing on exact numbers, I would really request you to focus on the theme. What exactly is the point that they are trying to make? The authors here are saying that as per the report, the global population is still increasing. However, on the other hand, if you see the average fertility rate, that is coming down considerably. For example, the average global fertility has declined in the past 70 years considerably. On an average, children per woman in the reproductive age has declined by 50%. The average of 5 children per woman in 1951 has come down to 2.3 children per woman in 2021. So this is a huge decline, as we have seen, in the fertility rate of women across the world and not just India. At the same time, we have to understand that the global population is still increasing. Now, how are these two things happening together? The main reason is that as the healthcare facilities around the world improve, as the standard of living of the people improve, that means that the average age of any individual across the world is increasing. So number of people dying is lesser. That is why we still have a very, very high population across the world, and the global population is expected to reach 8.5 billion by the year 2030. As expected, the poorer nations, especially the nations in Africa, are growing at a much faster pace, so they still have an advantage of demographic dividend. Now, demographic dividend, as you know, is a situation where a majority of the population, the country, is in the working age group. The working age group usually refers to 18 to 60. It varies from country to country, but usually on an average, 18 to 60 is a working age group. So, demographic dividend means a situation where this population is in majority so that they can be a part of the workforce, earn more money, grow up the economy, pay more taxes, etc. This is seen as a positive situation. But as the average age of the country increases, the demographic dividend is actually declining, and this is a situation which is called demographic transition. A lot of rich nations, Britain, Italy, Japan, etc., now see their average age increasing and the number of people in the workforce is actually declining. That is why the authors say that lowering fertility rate is also a cause of concern. In Britain, it took 130 years for their fertility rate to come down from 5 per women to 2. But the same transition happened in just 20 years in South Korea. In 1965, in South Korea, the average fertility rate was 5. In 1985, it became 2. You can see the example of Japan also, where the population growth has declined considerably. In these developed nations such as Japan, where the population growth has declined considerably, they are seeing the negative impact of it. How? See, when the fertility rate declines considerably, that means that the people entering the working age, the people entering the economy to work, to grow, to actually earn money for the government, for their own people, is declining. On the other hand, the number of old age people are increasing because the healthcare facilities are so good that people don't die early. So those people who are dependent on the government for their welfare, those people who are dependent on the government for their pension, etc., that number is inflating. This is where the low fertility rate is a big challenge for many advanced economies right now. South Korea, for example, right now has a fertility rate of only 1.05. Around the world, 2.1 is usually considered as a replacement rate, meaning that 2.1 is a fertility rate that is required for a stable population. The population will neither increase nor decrease. Fertility rate below that means the population will start to decrease. India, as you know, as per the latest National Family Health Survey, has achieved the fertility rate of 2.0, meaning that you will see that in the coming years, in the next 1 or 2 decades, the population of India might also start to decline slowly. India's fertility rate, as you know, since our independence, has decreased considerably. In 1947, it used to be 6. Then, after 25 years, it came to 5. 1990 was a time that the fertility rate of India on average was 4. And now we have achieved the fertility rate of 2. There are, in fact, only 5 states in India that right now have a fertility rate of above the replacement level, that is above 2.1. This is Bihar, Meghalaya, UP, Jharkhand, and Manipur. Now, there are a lot of implications of declining fertility rate, both positive and negative. Positive, for example, are women education improves since they have lesser children to take care of, they can focus on their education. On the other hand, when you have lower population or lower fertility rate, the pressure on the land also reduces, the water consumption, all these things reduce. So obviously the environment breathes much easier with the lower number of people. However, there are negative aspects to it as well. Look at Japan. Japan was the first country to actually experience negative aspects of declining fertility rate. Since 1990s, the GDP growth of Japan is almost negligible. They've actually done very well not to have a negative growth rate, but even today you will see that Japanese GDP growth rate is very close to zero because the number of people in their working age group is declining in Japan. The one idea that can work in this regard is allowing more people to migrate to your country from other young nations. So from other nations that still have a high population, be it India, other Asian nations, African nations, from there, if you invite more people to your country to be a part of the workforce, that might actually work in your favor. But the problem with Japan is that the reason why many Indian people don't go to Japan and rather go to US or European countries, Canada, is that there's a big language barrier. So in Japan, majorly you will see the local Japanese language. And that is not something that the Indians are very familiar with. And that is why you won't see a lot of Indians, a lot of Africans, etc. migrating to Japan. Most of them prefer going to the Western European nations only. Now the problem is not just with Japan. Many other developed nations have realized this and they're actually trying to encourage their women to produce more children. Take an example of Germany. Germany has introduced much more liberal labor laws, much better parental leaves, benefits to encourage women to produce more children. Denmark offers state funded IVF for women under the age of 40. Hungary has nationalized all the IVF clinics so that the prices can be controlled. Poland is giving monthly cash payments to parents having more than 2 children. And then we have Russia. Russia has actually gone all out to ensure that they have a population explosion. How? First, Russia makes one-time payment to parents when their second child is born. But not just this. Russia and Russian President Vladimir Putin now want to bring back their old USSR era policy. In USSR era, when Russia wanted a lot of people in their military, they actually initiated a scheme called Mother Heroine. So any women in Russia who used to reproduce more than 10 children was given a title of Mother Heroine. Vladimir Putin recently said that we are bringing back that scheme. Any Russian women giving birth to over 10 children will be given the title Mother Heroine and will be given a cash prize from the government as well. Again, this is a desperate attempt by all these nations, especially amongst the Western powers, to give a boost to their population. As you can see, the world population here, the number of people who are actually adding up. If you see year after year, the rate of increase of population in the world has actually increased. That is because the world's fertility rate may be declining, but our healthcare facilities are also increasing. Now, if you look at India specifically, you will see amongst the Indian states also, there's a great disparity when it comes to demographic dividend. Kerala, for example, was the first state that achieved the replacement rate of fertility, that is 2.1. So, average age of Kerala right now is higher as compared to other states. States such as UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, they are still very, very young states. So, they still have a lot of people who can be a part of the workforce as compared to others. However, just having more people that can be a part of the workforce doesn't really mean that it will lead to economic progress of your state. Look at India itself. Bihar, UP, Rajasthan, MP, Jharkhand are not really those states that you consider as economically very advanced. So you can see here there's a disparity. Just having more working age people doesn't really mean they will also have the required skills to be a part of the economy. Also, amongst the nations, if you see around the world, there is a great disparity of demographic dividend. Countries such as Japan have crossed 40 as their average age. Italy, Korea, all of these have a very high average age as compared to what India is. India's average age right now is close to 28.1 years. So India right now is in the middle of a demographic dividend, but we will only be able to take advantage of it if we provide enough skills to the people who are becoming a part of our workforce in India. The next article that we have here is on one of the most well-known social reformers, not just in Tamil Nadu, but across the country. That is E.V. Ramaswamy, or better known as Periyar. Now, Periyar's birth anniversary is on 17th of September. That is why Miss Kanimozi, who is a member of parliament from the DMK party, has written this article. As you know, the birth anniversary of Periyar in the country is celebrated as a social justice day. On this occasion, the author here is trying to bring back the values that Periyar was famous for preaching. Now, I'm sure all of you would have at least heard the name of Periyar. If you are from Tamil Nadu, then I'm sure you'll be much more familiar with his ideology and the amazing work that he did, especially for the backward classes in the region. The most famous thing associated with Periyar was the social respect movement that he launched. He was a leader of the backward classes. He fought against the supremacy of the Brahmins, and he said that the society deserves an egalitarian approach. Doesn't matter where you are born, doesn't matter what your practices are, but you also have the right to be respected equally and not lesser than anyone else, irrespective of what your caste or your background is. Not just this, he was also famous for preaching the liberty of expression and the liberty to say something that the majority does not believe in. For example, Periyar himself said that if people don't agree with me, I would still encourage them to listen to me and then put their point across. He was always willing to engage in a dialogue, something which, as per the author, is missing right now. The author says that Periyar said everyone has a right to refute any opinion, but no one has a right to prevent its expression. This is very similar to what political thinker J.S. Mill also said. If you look at the writings of J.S. Mill in political science, he also said something like, even if there is one single individual in the entire country who has an opposite point of view than the majority, even then one single individual has a right to be heard, because that is how you decide how advanced the society is. If the society is developed, if the society is liberal, you should allow every single one to voice their opinion. Doesn't matter if they are in your favor or they are against you as well. Periyar dedicated his entire life for the eradication of the social evils and wanted to put an end to those practices that discriminate against certain people in the society. He is very famous for raising voice against a program of the Tamil Nadu government early on, soon after independence, called Kula Kalvi Thitham. Again, if my pronunciation is not up to the mark, I'm really sorry for that. But the program of Kula Kalvi Thitham was actually introduced by the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, that is C. Rajgopalachari. In simple terms, the program was that those school children who come from a business background should be taught about the business of their family so that they can take the family business forward. Or even if there is no family business, whatever profession that their family was involved in, the children should be taught the same so that they can carry forward that particular tradition. Periyar fought against this entire idea. He said that no profession or business has to be passed on hereditary. Everyone has a right to pursue whatever profession, whatever job that they want. And if you are giving children the training to carry forward that one particular profession only, then you are taking away the right from the children as well to explore other fields, and you are taking away rights from those children whose parents are not in a very good job or very good profession right now. It was because of his insistence that the Tamil Nadu government finally had to take back this scheme. It was withdrawn, and the entire world took notice of what is happening in Tamil Nadu, and Periyar became much more famous after that. He was always talking about the inclusive growth of the individual, and he never said that anyone against him should not have the right to speak. He said that anyone who is making a point or making any policy should ensure that it is based on rationalism, science, and experience and not on any conspiracy. The author here says that in today's context, within the social scenario, if you are speaking against anyone in power, you're not allowed to speak out your mind. We should all remember the learnings that we had from Periyar. Today, on the occasion of his birthday, just by tweeting about him, just by sharing a message about him, we are not doing him any service. If we really want to take forward his teachings, then we should remember what he stood for, the social reform movement that he worked so hard to establish in Tamil Nadu and the entire country. Now, I also wanted to give you a bit more details about the life and the legacy of E.V. Ramaswamy, or Periyar as he was fondly recognized as. As I told you earlier, he was most famous for initiating the self respect movement. In simple terms, this was a movement for the backward classes to respect themselves and for the entire society to respect them also at par with others as well. He initially started as a part of the Congress, but later on he did not really see eye to eye with Mahatma Gandhi on the treatment to Brahmins and non-Brahmin students. And that is where he resigned from the Congress party and associated himself with the Justice Party and the self-respect movement. The self-respect movement, as I said, was mainly to oppose the dominance of the Brahmins. I'll just give you an idea. At that point of time, in Tamil Nadu especially, or Madras as it was called at that point of time, the vegetarian restaurants actually had the sign or actually had the billboard which said Brahmin restaurants and not vegetarian restaurants. People thought that just writing Brahmin restaurants would give a signal to the people that it is a vegetarian restaurant. But it was only after his agitation that the restaurants changed their signboard to vegetarian restaurant. This was just one of the ideas of what he was doing. He was also the biggest leader of what was called the Vaikom Satyagraha of 1924. This was a movement that was famously fought for the Vaikom temple. So at that time, the people belonging to the lower caste were not allowed to go through the same path to reach the Vaikom temple. They had a different entry, they had a different path. So he fought for that and said that everyone deserves to go through the same path that is made for the public. That is why he was later given the name of Vaikom Virar, that is a hero of Vaikom. He also came to politics in 1940s by launching a new political party called the Dravidar Kazhagam. The entire idea of the party was to have an independent Dravid Nadu, that is an independent region comprising of southern part of India, where people spoke languages such as Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu and Kannada. Even after his independence, he dedicated his entire life to ensuring that the people belonging to the backward classes get equal rights and equal respect. He passed away at the age of 1973 and is still known as Thanthai Periyar, meaning that the father figure of modern state of Tamil Nadu. These are some of the other leaders that were associated with the self-respect movement. You can read about them. There were a lot of female leaders associated with this movement. For example, Annai Meenalbal Sivaraj. She was the first Dalit woman to become a member of the Madras Corporation and a well-known female leader in the self-respect movement. Then we also have Karandhai S. Dharmambal. She was an Ayurveda doctor and also became a part of the Justice Party and was very closely associated with Periyar as well. She played a major role in Tamil Nadu Women's Conference, which passed resolutions against the imposition of Hindi in the schools of Madras at that point of time. The next article that we have here is again based from Tamil Nadu about the Tamil Nadu government's latest scheme of introducing breakfast free of cost for all the children going to the schools. Now, under this scheme, the Tamil Nadu government has said that free breakfast will be given to school children in the morning so that the children's nutrition can be improved and more children can be encouraged to come to school. You would remember that midday meal scheme also that is now implemented across the country was actually an initiative of Tamil Nadu only. So Tamil Nadu has always been a leader in these kind of schemes. The Tamil Nadu Chief Minister said that no one should call such schemes as freebie. It is the duty of the government to ensure that no child goes hungry. There have been multiple studies that have suggested that having a good beginning of the day, having a good first meal that is breakfast, gives a lot of positive reinforcement to the body. There is a drastic improvement in the focus of the children, in how children behave in the school if they have been fed well in the breakfast. As per the scheme, the government is aiming to give an average of 293 calories of food, which would have 9.85 grams of protein per day. The schools already have the midday meal scheme, under which they are given lunch of about 553 calories with about 18 grams of protein. This is aimed at a couple of things. First, improving the nutrition in the body of the students, and secondly, to ensure that the enrollment of the students also picks up because of this. As you know, India, Tamil Nadu specifically, has been facing the issue of anemia, that is lack of iron in the body of the children. This particular scheme is also aimed at clearing those problems as well. Just like the midday meal scheme has been taken up by the central government from Tamil Nadu, this scheme should also be taken up as per the author because this doesn't have any political angle and is just necessary for every child in the country. Now, as I said, Tamil Nadu has actually had a history of feeding children in the school, and it goes back to our pre-independence era. It was in 1920 that Madras Corporation Council approved providing tiffin to the students in the corporation school at a cost of not more than 1 anna per student per day. This was mainly because many children coming to the school at that point of time were very poor and could not afford to bring any food from their place. This was to ensure that everyone in the school is fed properly and parents are encouraged to send their children to school. After independence, there was a statewide application in 1956 of the same rule when CM K. Kamraj, a very famous Congress leader at that point of time, decided to provide free noon meal to poor children in all the primary schools across the state. In 1982, Chief Minister M.G. Ramachandran extended this program to children in the age group of 2 to 5 years in Anganwadis and 5 to 9 years in the primary school as well. This was later on taken up by the other governments as well, including the central government, which calls it the midday meal scheme. There have been a lot of positive impacts of this scheme, including the rise in enrollment numbers, especially girls' enrollment, because you have to understand the fact that for a lot of poor parents in the country, although this is unfortunate, but the reality is that when these kind of schemes were started, many parents actually send their children to school just so that they don't have to at least worry about their lunch. In fact, I have personally seen a lot of students when they are getting this midday meal scheme, because there is not really a compulsion on the quantity. Many of them eat and then many of them also fill up their tiffin boxes to take this home so that they can actually feed this to their parents or eat themselves in the evening. So this has actually had a great impact on the enrollment numbers. Because of this, many more children are in the school now. It has also increased attendance because earlier, even if the children were enrolled, they were not really coming to school. That has also now changed because of such schemes. These were the important articles from the Hindu newspaper today. Now, a couple of practice questions. Number one, What role have the schemes such as a midday meal played in increasing the gross enrollment ratio across the schools in the country? Also identify some of the lacunas that exist in this scheme. Lacunas means the problems or the shortcomings. Second, India is fast emerging as the world's biggest hope in the field of renewable energy. Comment. Both these questions have to be answered within 250 words each. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a good day ahead.